Hello and welcome to the Paragon Advanced class. Today we're going to be going over some of the cool features that it has, and hopefully in exploring this you'll get a greater understanding of the capabilities of Paragon. There will be things beyond what I talk about today that Paragon has the functionality for. I would highly recommend you checking out this help section right up here. There is going to be lots of nice resources and tutorials available there. But so for today, we are going to be covering the following things in this class. We're going to be covering custom fields, how to add fields to your searches that do not appear there by default. We are going to talk about the map search function and how to utilize that to its full extent. We are going to be talking about loading a listing, like how to import that listing using tax records to have some of your criteria automatically filled out for you to save you some time, as well as how to customize photo labels within the listing maintenance module. Additionally, we will cover automatic email campaign setups in search so that your clients can have what's called a drip campaign. They can have recurring results for a search sent to their email or a client portal. Okay, so we're going to touch on the search portion of this right now. I'm going to go and open up an example search. So I've created just a very basic bare bones search. Let's say that this is all of the criteria that I would like in my search. So if I have these general parameters for Berkeley here, if I want to, I can see these results, the 19 results that you can see up here. I can see them plotted within a map. So if I simply click on the map search tab right here at the top of the search, or if I click anywhere within this search by map bar. So either one of those, if I click it, it will automatically plug my criteria into a map search. And when it does that, you will now see all of the 19 results plotted onto a map. And they all have a little price tag in green there. You'll see we have two blue circles here with the number 2 in them. That simply means these are listings that are very close together and essentially have been clustered. So if we zoom in, those will start to break up and you'll see them appear as single listings. So I can actually get additional information about the individual listings right from here. If I click on one of these price tags, it will open up a little preview right here of the listing. From here, I can either click on the MLS number if I want to see a full report on it, the full agent report, or I can choose one of the CRS data reports that are available here if I want to open this in tax record and find additional tax information about it. So something that's really great about the map tool is I can actually draw a custom shape and I can get a specific area of Berkeley here that I want to find listings in. So to do that, I will click on the draw tool right here, and that will open up my different options for the different kinds of shapes that I have available to me. So the first shape, Paragon, think of that as a custom shape. So if I click on Paragon, you'll see it converts my mouse now to a little plus. So every time I click now, when my mouse is in that little plus there, it will create a point on the map. So I'll click right here, and it creates a point, and now wherever I drag my mouse to and click down will create the next point. And I can keep on doing that, and I can make a shape. I can make it a really weird shape too if I want to. It can be whatever you want. It can be a nice custom shape. And I will just click on the final point to close that shape, and then it will now only show the listings that are within my shape. Additionally, I can double click wherever my mouse is and close the shape from there. But so now that I have this shape created, you'll see that it limits my results now to only what is within this, this shape. If I want to see the results from here, like let's say this is exactly what I want, the exact area of Berkeley that I want, I will simply hit search, and it will then plug in my results to a spreadsheet where I can then view the individual reports for those comps. If I go back over to map search here, I can always edit my shape if I click simply on the red edit button. Then I will see my polygon shape that I just created, and if I want to start over and make a new one, I will simply hit X, and it will then remove the shape from the map, and now I will be back to where I started with all of the results showing in the map. So the other two shapes that I have the ability to draw are the rubber band, which is a square shape. So I will click and hold my mouse down and drag, and I can make this nice square. And whenever I'm done, I like my square as it is. I can just simply release my mouse button, and it will then apply that rectangle shape. And then finally, I have the ability to draw a radius shape. So radius, if I select it, I will click down and drag out, and it will create a radius. The center of that radius will be wherever I just clicked. So I will click and drag, and if this is a good enough radius for me, I will release, and it will apply that radius. There's actually a much more accurate way if you have a specific property that you want to have a radius around to create such a thing. So if I want to do that, I will use this center map and zoom on this address field right here. I will click that, I will enter an address, and then I will either hit enter or I'll click that little spyglass to the right of where I'm entering my address. I would say typically just the street name and then the city name is enough. And so I have that and I hit enter. And then you'll see two things immediately. One, the address disappeared from the field that I just input into. That is normal. Just so you know, sometimes we get questions on that. That is completely normal. That's what it does. And then you will also see a little flag there with the number 1 in the center of the map. So it adjusted my map so that the address I just input is the exact center. And now without moving my map, if I want a 1 mile radius around that address where that flag is, I will simply put 1 next to this search by radius field, and I will click search radius. And that will now generate a radius of 1 mile around my address. If I were to, let's say, move my map while that number 1 is still there, that number 1 becomes ineffective because it will center the radius around wherever the current center of the map is. So if I move it down here and I do a 1 mile radius, you'll see that little flag is lonely over there. It's created the radius around where my current center is. So when you use this function, you'll want to center the map on that address and then immediately put in the radius so that it works effectively for you. So I'm going to go back to my criteria now. So now I'm going to show you how to add custom fields or fields that are not currently within my search form here. Just so you know, I would definitely keep an eye out if you scroll down. So most of your fields by default will be in primary criteria here, but if I scroll down, you'll see secondary criteria where you will see predominantly features and some ADU stuff. And then also advanced criteria where you will likely have remarks fields and a word search field where you can search by terms that may be in the public, confidential remarks for listings. So I would just say check those out before you go and add custom fields. What you are going to add may already be in there. So anyway, if I want to add a custom field, I will simply go up to this customize button right here, and I will hover over fields, and I will click on that. And you'll see now that it opens up this little form here. So the columns on the left here are available fields, fields that are not currently on my search, but I can add. And fields on the right, which are selected fields, fields that are currently on my search. By default, it will add whatever field that you want to add into your primary criteria. If for some reason I want to organize that into my secondary or advanced criteria, I can simply select that with the drop down under containers. So if I'm going through this, let's say I want an agent has ownership field. I want to know if the agent has ownership over this property. So I will click on that field under available fields, and select it. So you'll want to make sure that it has the blue check mark in that box there and is green. And then I will hit add, which will then add it now to my primary criteria since I have that selected. If I scroll to the bottom, I will see agent has ownership, that field that I just added. If I want to move this field, I can simply click and drag because by default, it'll add it to the very bottom of my primary criteria. So if I want to drag it up to, I don't know, let's say right above price. Okay, so I can click and drag it there, or I can have it selected and click on move up and move down in this little menu right here. So when I have it for how I would like it, I have a couple different options of how to apply this to my search. I can do apply/save, which will save it to my current search, and you can enable it as a default field so that you don't have to add it in every time. Really the same concept with apply and save as. It will just essentially prompt you to rename the search and not be about whatever your current search is if you're not on your default. Or you can just hit apply if you want it to be a one-time addition to your search. So it will then reload, and now we can see the agent has ownership field is right where I put it. It's right beneath search by map and right above price. So now I can enter a value here, let's say no, for instance, and it will shrink down my results. So that's how to add a custom field. So from here, I'm going to create an auto email campaign for a client. So let's say that this example search is everything that I want to search for whatever my client's specificities are. So I can do that in the Save Search section. So I can add it to a client contact if I go down to Save Search As under Save Search. The Save Search right here, just so you know, will just save it as a manual one-time search that does not send out to any kind of client. So Save Search As is what we'll want to select, and then you will see this window pop open here. So by default, you'll see yourself is selected. We want to go over to Contact, and we'll choose that. Here you can change the name of your search, just so you know. This will be a name that the client can actually see. So I've created my search name here, and then here I can assign it to a contact. If I've already added that contact, it will be available to be found in the assign to a contact field. I can simply click on that and it will load any contacts that I have. If I don't already have them added, that is not a problem. Simply click add new contact and you will see this come up where you can now create a contact profile within this function. The required fields really are the first and last name, and then you will want to have an email in there so that they have a means to receive these listings. So I've added it to an example client, and I have renamed my search, and I am all ready to get started. So now I will choose Save and Notify. So now it will send me over to my client's contact page. And by default, it will set my search into the Collaboration Center option. So you have two different options for how they can receive these listings. You have the Collab Center, which you can see an example of if you click on the View Collab Center option. And it will show you their Collab Center where they can, to some extent, interact with the listings. And you're free to poke around in this, but they can go and they can view the listings, they can favorite them, put them into a possible folder, reject them, comment on them, that sort of a thing. They can interact with the listings in a way that might make communication pretty easy for you, hopefully. When they do interact with them, when they comment on them, you will receive a notification for that. So you'll be kept in the loop. So you have the option to do Collab Center, which you can get started simply by clicking on Send Welcome Message, which will send a message to their email address where they can then create a login for the Collab Center and then view those listings. They will receive email updates about new listings and that sort of a thing. You can customize that within these options right here. You can customize what triggers a new notification. and then also how often they get notifications. Your options are off if you want to turn that function off immediately, which will send an individual email for each new match that they can go and it'll say, essentially, hey, here's a new listing that meets the criteria. Come click on this and go to Collab Center to view it. Or you can do recurring. Recurring will send a email once every designated period, and this will then collect everything that is new within that period and send that in one email. So a chunk of listings in one email. Typically, this is something that is preferred so that you're not, depending on the amount of results for a search, you're not blowing up the client's email. So you can select your time frame by choosing modify time frame. You'll see you have the option. By default, it'll go once a day, and you can set the time of day that happens, or you can choose it. You can customize the days of the week. You can have it every Monday and Wednesday if you want at 3, or you can even do, a monthly schedule if that suits your needs as well. I should also note that here you can have yourself BCC'd if you would like. If they have a secondary email, like a spouse's email, simply click on this little box here and it will automatically add in their spouse's email. That is an email that you can customize in the contact information tab. There's a field for spouse or secondary email. So back to notifications, your other option here is email, which is basically just cutting out the Collab Center part. It will just send them emails with static reports for each of the listings. And then the same concept as previous, where you can designate the time frame for how often they receive it. By default, it'll be immediately, but you can choose recurring and set your time frame there. So by default, you will see the message here as blank. This is something that you can customize. You can write in whatever note that you would like, but it will send them the same message every time that they receive a new email. So just keep that in mind when you're formatting that. And then the last thing that I'll mention is you will see an end date here. There's going to be a date range beginning whatever day it is that you've started your search, though you can always, change that if you want it to start next week, for instance. And then there's an end date. The end date will be a year out from whenever it is, whenever this has been created. When you approach that end date, you will receive a notification from Paragon saying, hey, this search will expire in, typically it's about a week out is when that will start. It'll give you the option to extend the search. If I ever want to actually edit the search, I can simply go to the contact profile. Under buyer activity, there will be my search name, and I will hit edit search. And there I can go and edit my criteria and then just save it again when I'm done, and that will update the parameters for the client. And just so you know, the way to get to these searches would be to go to the contacts icon, go down to view and manage contacts, which will bring you to this page. Select the relevant contact that you want to manage their automatic emails for, and they will always be under the buyer activity tab. When you click on that, you'll see the name of the search, where now we can go and edit. So now we're going to talk about adding a listing to the MLS. So I will go over to the listings tab up here, and I will go down to add a listing. I'll choose, for today, we'll choose residential. And so when I click on residential, the first thing that is going to pop up is this. This is a tax autofill search. So this will search CRS tax records for your property, and it will read anything that is on CRS tax and add it to your listing. Hopefully this will save you some time. So what is required here is the county. Typically, the only other thing that you will need is the street number and the street name. And once you have that entered, hopefully you should see your count at just 1, though depending on the nature of the property, you might not. But at this point, we will hit search, and it will give us our results. If the property that you're seeing is indeed the one that you were attempting to list, simply check it. and then hit autofill right here. And that will bring us over to this page, our listing maintenance page with autofill data overlaid over it. So this is all of the data that it has read from CRS Tax that we can add to our listing. If we don't want some of this, we can uncheck it, or you can check it to add it. So everything that's checked, I'll hit save, and it'll automatically apply that to my listing. You can always skip this step, however, so this is not something that is mandatory for uploading a listing. If I go back to the page where I'm loading a new listing, back where the tax autofill page or the tax autofill search automatically pops up, if I simply click on either this little blue here or new residential, either one of those will skip the tax autofill step, and I can just enter everything manually if that's what I prefer. All right, and now I'm going to show you a little bit about the photo upload module. So I'll go over here to add edit pictures, and I'm going to show you how to load photos as well as update labels for photos. So I can click on upload multiple photos right here in my photo upload module. And then if I have my photos already, I can simply drag and drop them onto this little window here. I'll drag and drop, and you'll see they will load up here. Alternatively, you can click on Add Files here and search your computer for them. But once I have my photos selected that I want to upload, first I will want to take a look at this little box here. So this is regarding creating automated labels and descriptions for your photos. If you want that, if you want to opt into that and have your photos be read by AI for creating automated labels and descriptions, check that box. And if you don't want that, uncheck that box. By default, it will be checked. So if you don't want that, make sure to go and uncheck it before you load your photos. So I have my photos ready. I will simply click on Start Upload to upload them. Before I do that, actually, let's scroll down. Right here, please take a note, is requirements for your photos for minimum resolution as well as maximum resolution. Really, anything larger than the maximum resolution will just be shrunken down. They will be compressed to fit that resolution. So you don't really need to worry about your photos being too big, but you do need to meet the minimum resolution standards. Also, please note that it only takes JPEG, GIF, and PNG files. If you have any kind of like special characters like a $sign or something like that in the actual like file name for your photos, Paragon will not be able to read that. So just keep that in mind. These are very common things that we see when troubleshooting photo issues. So keep that in mind. All right, so I have my photos and I will click on Start Upload. It will then upload my photos to my listing. So I have these photos and I can simply click and drag my photos around to change the order. The order goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on by alphabetical numbers. If you change the order, you'll see that the numbers don't change, but they will change once you save the new order for things. If I want to edit my labels and descriptions, or if I just want to add new ones, I can click on the little label here. So for instance, for this one, the label is bedroom. I will click on that and I can update my labels. Here, I can delete that, and then I can scroll through any available labels. And then I can also edit my description for my photo. If I don't want anything, I can simply make that blank, hit save, and then as you can see, there's no label. It'll say add label because that is blank. Additionally, some other things that I can do is I can add my listing to a open house or a tour. I can do that with the add at an open house section of the listing maintenance page. I can click on new to go and add an open house and set parameters. And then same deal with broker tour. I can click on add edit tour and then go. I can find my tour group, select a day and add parameters to that. Please note that both open houses and tours cannot be saved to listings until they are published as active listings. So not partial or coming soon listings. But once it's active on the market, the system will allow you to save these things. So just a general overview of some of the listing maintenance items here. You'll see some fields have the red letter R. The red R means it is a required field, aka you have to have a value in there in order to publish your listing on the MLS. So you'll see quite a few fields have that red R. Something that I do want to focus on a little bit is the VOW fields and the internet display fields. So the internet display fields are sending, designating if you want to send your listing out to third-party sites. And the VOW fields are virtual office websites. So office websites with IDX feeds. So if you want to opt into those, you can do VOW include yes. And if you don't, you want to do VOW no. These little fields here, address, would be if you want to have the address included in that feed. You can select no if you want the address anonymized. Comment if you want to have comments available for the listing. And then AVM, which is automated valuation module. If so, basically like if there's any kind of formula that a site has that would, automate a certain property value. If you want to if you want to opt out of that sort of a thing, just simply change that from yes to no. And then as you can see down here, there are ADU fields. If you select yes for ADU, you will see a bunch of different ADU fields pop up. You have your remarks fields, your features, many of which are required to have an answer for. And then lastly, you have sold information, which will not be something that you will need until you go into the pending status. Then some of these will be required fields. And then once you go to sold, obviously, many more will be required field. Additionally, if you have any links that you would like associated with your listing, you have the ability to add those in the branded media link fields if that link has branding, or unbranded media link fields if that link does not have branding. You can simply just copy and paste that link right there. So that is a general overview about how to load your listing onto the MLS. And now I'll show you a little bit about how to create a CMA within Paragon. So in Paragon, you have actually a few different options for CMA. You can use this CMA function here. You can do create presentation, where if you click on that, you will need to first input a presentation name and then select a subject property and a client. From there, you can do a comp search. You can either add an individual comp with the add specific MLS number here, or you can create a general search and get comps that way. Once you've added some comps, you can now go and do any kind of calculated adjustments. And then also you can go to the page layout where you can choose the theme for your CMA and create a footer. And then presentation setup is where you can select specific pages and edit what they may say. Some of them are editable, some of them are less editable. And just so you know, as you may kind of get the hint from the page layout field here, these are intended to be sort of marketing packets that you give to, like, say, a client. These will typically feature your branded information. Another way to do this would be in the Easy CMA section, where you can select an address, and then it will give you automated comps that it has generated for you. If you don't like the comps, you can hit generate new comps and add some specifics. It's a quicker way of doing the CMA than their general CMA function. And then lastly, another way to get a CMA is actually to run a general search. So I have my search here. I'll do run search. And then under my reports button here, I can go down and scroll to CMA. And I have three different CMA options: CMA Quick View, CMA Summary, and CMA Spreadsheet, which will get me different very quick CMAs. And these, again, are really just single sheets. They are less comprehensive than the sort of marketing packet style of the other two ways of doing a CMA. Additionally, in my results, I can actually select my comps. Let's say I want these 4 comps, and I can export them to Cloud CMA. I can do that by selecting them and then going to Actions and choosing Cloud CMA CMA. This will then take me over to Cloud CMA, and as you can see, I have my MLS numbers input into the exact listing section of Cloud CMA. So if you prefer to use Cloud CMA, that's an easy way to integrate it to your workflow with Paragon. Thank you for watching this Paragon Advanced course. If you have any questions or want to go into more specifics, please either give our tech support line a call, and we're more than happy to walk you through. Additionally, there are more help resources here in the Help tab where there is a robust set of tutorials on Paragon.